Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Produce Moms Podcast. And my name is Lori Taylor. I absolutely love this show. And it's the best day ever when I get to welcome dear friends to the podcast. And that's exactly what we're doing today. And we're bringing back some guests who and businesses that have been part of not only this podcast, but the Produce Moms overall, really from the beginning. The voices you're going to hear from today, two very special people in my professional journey, as well as in the growth of TPM as a whole. So we've got two guests, and our first guest is Nichole Towell. I will be honest with everyone. I thought that she just headed the marketing for Duda Farm Fresh Foods. And you're familiar with Duda Farm Fresh Foods. They grow the Dandy brand. You've seen it in the produce department. They're famous for their celery and plenty of other commodities too. But I know you've seen it in the celery for sure. Nichole actually informed me that in addition to leading the marketing, her formal title is Senior Director of Marketing and Packaging Procurement. And you guys, we're going to really dive into that today because packaging is so important to the produce industry. And you know what's more important than anything is sustainability. And in that vein, sustainability, we have welcomed back to the podcast a woman who might be known, I mean, I certainly consider her the sustainability expert in the fresh produce industry. Like, she's absolutely number one in my book and on this show and in this moment. Her name is Nikki Cossio, founder and CEO of Measure to Improve. Nikki, episode 32 in the archives. Phenomenal woman. We're so glad to have her back. And we're going to bring Nichole on in just a minute. Episode 120 in our archives actually features Nichole's husband, who also works for Duda. And he came on to talk about traceability and all sorts of other certifications. And today we're going to learn more about what Nichole and Nikki's passions are. And Nichole, I'd like to welcome you to the show first. We're really glad you're here, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lori. Excited to be here and talk about such an important project and an important idea, if you will, for consumers, but also for our industry. It's exciting to get to talk about it today.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to talk about it. And how long have you been working on the packaging procurement, and how long has that been a critical part of what you do at Duda?
So I've been working on packaging with Duda for, really probably about 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
And really working on sustainability. We've been working with Nikki and other groups on figuring out how to make our packaging more sustainable, really probably for the last 3 years, really focusing on it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, packaging it's taken center stage in our marketing strategies, but also on the topic of sustainability. So I'd like for you to explain to folks how Duda is such a leader. I mean, the heritage of this company is phenomenal, Nichole. I know that we're approaching the 100th year of Duda Farm Fresh Foods, but I'd really like for you to kind of kick today's show off with the heritage and how sustainability has been part of Duda Farm Fresh Foods from day one, but why it's critical. It's like there's no finish line with this, so explain a little bit more on that.
Yeah, the company is approaching 100 years old. We're 95 years old, so we're close to that centennial mark. The first crop that Andrew Duda grew successfully in 1926 was celery. And one of the main reasons he chose to grow it, as he said, and kind of through the family archives, is it's 100% usable with very little waste. You can use the leaves, so you can use the top all the way to the bottom of the celery and really find uses for the whole piece or the whole stock. So fast forward now, nearly 100 years later, and really what we're trying to do is continue that legacy and continue reducing our environmental footprint to meet consumer demands.
Yeah, that's great. And what would you say consumer demands are? I mean, I know you've studied this and you have all the research on it. I would say anecdotally, and from hosting this show and talking to so many experts in this space, consumers want transparency first and foremost. And I would say that there is definitely a rising consumer demand for sustainable packaging or less single-use plastics and all the above. But what are you guys seeing at Duda that consumers really want?
And you're exactly right. I mean, I think the less plastic all around, or if you're going to use plastic, something that is recyclable or has some recyclable material in it, or both, really, our goal is to find, where is that plastic that is reusable, but also maybe has been reused before it's turned into, as an example, a celery bag. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we're looking at is how do we go to that really next level of compostable and putting it back into the earth naturally, instead of, it's great to be recyclable, but I think the true hero is compostability. And that's what we're on search for. And I think we'll be there soon. I think technology still has to catch up with us a little bit. But there is some exciting new things out there that we've been testing along the way.
I love that. Good. And I agree with you. I've learned a lot about compostability, really through all of our partners. You all have been just instrumental in me understanding what it means to truly be sustainable and the evolution of sustainability to modern day. And I do feel like all the roads right now are leading right back to compostable as it relates to packaging. So how did Nikki get involved, Nichole? And I want to get her on the show here too, but why does she have a seat at the table with Duda right now?
So we have a big, I'll say, an implementation within the company called the Growing Greener Generations team. And what that is really the legacy continuing throughout the company, and including representatives from across the company. So everyone is, focusing on their area or their expertise, but bringing it to the table of sustainability and growing greener generations. And Nikki has helped lead that for the company and has started helping us, or showing us basically the way, if you will, showing us how to continually track what we're doing and get better at it.
She is the sustainability shepherd.
Yes, there you go. That's great.
Well, Nikki, we got to get you on. I'm going to shepherd you in right here to the show, but no, I mean, I know we're chuckling because we're friends, but it couldn't be more serious and important, the work that you're both committed to. Nikki, tell us more about the sustainability initiatives. This Growing Greener Generations team sounds phenomenal. I mean, I absolutely love that Duda is getting stakeholders from within their own corporate structure to have a seat at the sustainability table. And Nikki, kudos to you for, being a big part of that. So tell us a little bit more, Nikki, about what you're doing.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. This is fun to be on a podcast with two of my dear friends. So we started working with Duda back in 2019, I believe. And we started on the sustainability packaging program. And really, this was to build upon what Duda had already been doing, since its inception. Since Nichole just said, we started out with sustainability in mind, and this is now a way to formalize their sustainability program. When you talk about the Growing Greener Generations team, we're talking about a team of individuals that are within the organization. So no one person has to take responsibility for all of this information, gathering all this information. everybody within the company has a role to play to contribute to this program, whether it's data, whether it's training, whether it's education, whether it's reaching out to vendors. So the Growing Greener generation started out with a sustainability program team. And now we have another Growing Greener generations team within the bigger umbrella that's focused on farm.
That's great.
So yeah, and we meet with these teams regularly to share information and the progress on each of these programs. And really the intention of forming these teams is to provide Duda with an opportunity to build the momentum and instill a sense of the program ownership. So having staff involved in the management and the administration of these programs is really an opportunity to build a culture around sustainability.
Yeah.
So everybody is engaged and empowered to contribute to this program, and it creates a sense of pride.
I couldn't agree with you more, Nikki. And I think too that when someone really thinks about what all sustainability entails, in a way that is culture. I mean, it's the culture of a company like Duda. A huge part of their corporate culture is going to live and be formed through this sustainability initiative and the Growing Greener generations work. With that, I'd love to talk a little bit more now about, we've mentioned, Nichole and Nikki, I think both of you will have insights on this. Nichole, we'll start with you. So we have talked about, the evolution from recyclable to compostable. And I think one key thing that we really need to discuss is, like the how to recycle initiative even. I know that it's 2021 and we've been talking about recycling literally for multi-decades at this point. But let's talk about the how to recycle initiatives, how it's important through the whole supply chain. And Nichole, would you like to start that?
Sure. So the how to recycle label is a great tool, a great educational tool for the consumer, certainly for the industry as well, but really at the consumer level, because it takes each piece of the packaging and tells consumers directly how it can be recycled or what to do with it. So as you know, like some produce packaging in the same thing is maybe cardboard, maybe plastic, and maybe it's together. And it tells, if you look at that label, it tells directly to the consumer what to do with the plastic versus what to do with the cardboard. Maybe it's both, goes to the same location, maybe not, but it's very, very straightforward and very, I like to just, see it as kind of a direction. It gives them direction of what to do with each piece they see. Mm-hmm. And that historically has been tough because some of it is curbside recycle, some of it is take it back to the store, but it's very clear on the package what to do with it. And that's been a great communication piece to let, here we could spend all kinds of time deliberating over what kind of package to use. But if the consumer doesn't know what to do with it, then I'll say that last mile is hard and has really negated all of the work that we put into it. So that's really a great piece to, even for the retailers, to give the consumer or that last custodial person with the packaging, what do they do with it? And so that's been a great educational piece and something we'll continue to roll out on our packaging as we start to make these changes going forward.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Thanks for explaining that to us. And, Nikki, we've talked about, taking it to that next step of compostability. Do you expect to see similar types of, how we have this how to recycle initiative and it appears on packaging, it's important to retailers. Do you expect to see the same thing happen with compostable products and packaging?
Well, I think we need to talk about what does sustainable packaging even mean.
Yeah, good call.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And I think really the overarching definition is really it needs to be designed to reduce its environmental impact. And how do we do this? It's about changing characteristics, such as, designing it to reduce the amount of material that we use. It's about, I think to your point, Lori, you said earlier, it's about incorporating recycled materials into the product. And we want to ensure that packaging is reusable and recyclable and compostable. But we also have to keep in mind that the technology is really still very much in development, and it has to be affordable, and it also has to keep the integrity of the product. We have to, keep in mind food safety. We have to keep in mind shelf life. We don't want to switch over to packaging that creates a whole nother problem. Food loss and food waste is a huge initiative. So we need to make sure that before we begin to switch over to alternative packaging, we first have to understand what it is we're using. What are we using? How do we reduce the amount of packaging that we need that's coming into the facility? How do we reduce the amount of packaging that's going out of the facility so somebody else doesn't have to deal with it? So I think we need to start there and work in incremental steps to get to that point and move with affordability and the overall integrity of the packaging.
Yeah. And, the sentiments you just shared with the importance of measuring those inputs, the outputs, having that critical data, that comes alive even in the name of your business, measure to improve. And gosh, Nikki, you have taught so many of us in this industry and really worldwide about the importance of collecting data, setting goals and benchmarks as it relates to our sustainability efforts. And so thank you for sharing that. And I agree with you. So Nichole, I want to talk to you a little bit about this Growing Greener Generations team and really just the overall communications piece here. This has to be incredible for company morale. I imagine that, from certainly a huge percentage of what you're doing here is for external communications. How are we talking to, the retailers that buy our products? How are we talking to the households that count on our products and bring them into their homes? But share a little bit more about how it's also, there's been a great advancements even in internal communications.
So the team meets regularly, as Nikki said earlier. So we try to meet every other week. Depending on what's happening, sometimes it is every week, but it's been a great tool to get, again, every part of the company or every stakeholder together at the same table to discuss what's happening, how we can move it forward, and then keep the communications going throughout the team. So through operations, through sales, through procurement, through marketing, whatever's happening. We even have accounting and legal representatives. So that has helped a lot. Secondly, reporting out from those meetings, we keep good records and then report out, but also to the stakeholders outside of the company, to our retail customers. We try to post a lot of information, on our website, and then also through what we send out every other week, we call the Dandygram. So the Dandy brand. Yes. The Dandygram is information about our product. So really talks about what we're testing, what we're doing. We always have some type of sustainability, I'll call wisdom or nugget on there. And then, in meetings, of course, we're meeting with customers a lot. So retailers will ask us, what are you doing? Because they have their own initiatives that they're trying to meet. And so really we're kind of an extension of their own team, because they can only be as good, if you will, as their suppliers. So they're really looking at the suppliers to help with their own sustainability initiatives. So it's been, still learning. We learn every week really on what is important and, what needs to be communicated better and what we need to continue working on. So there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it's information overload, but we try to make it as educational as possible.
No, it's amazing. I mean, and do you even feel like there's a finish line with this, or is it just constant process improvement?
It is a process improvement. Absolutely. I mean, I think if you kid yourself to think you're finished, then that's a problem because we're all just trying to get better every day. And as the technology continues to get better, then it allows us to up our game, if you will. And it is important, as Nikki mentioned, that our products have to breathe. They're living items. They have a short shelf life, and we're trying to maximize that shelf life for consumers and get them to the table in the best possible fashion, because farming is not an easy job. And the farmers have done their job to produce a really good product, and we have to do our job to protect it, to get it to the table, whether that's a food service or a restaurant table, or that's a family's table. So we take that job seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the process, protect the environment as you're doing it.
Right.
So Nichole, Nikki mentioned sustainable packaging, and she offered, really nice insights and definitions to that. How would you define the concept of sustainability?
That's a good question, because I think it's, that word gets thrown around in a lot of different ways. And
it sure does.
I really look at it. Yeah. I really look at it as people protecting, or if you will, people, planet, and profit. And all three of those have to work together to really meet the sustainability. Like, all three of them have to be sustainable, because one of those can't get out of alignment and overtake the equation, if you will, because then it's not sustainable. We can't sustain the business. We can't sustain the environment. We can't sustain all of those inputs that go into it. So really, people, planet, and profit have to be equal amounts in the equation.
Yes, I agree. And that could be considered to use celery talk, Nichole, the holy trinity, or the mirepoix of sustainstainability, or people, planet, profit. I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. So Nikki, anything you want to add to that from all the work you've done at Measure to Improve, or just reinforce what Nichole had to say?
Absolutely. We define sustainability exactly the same way. It's people, planet, profit, the triple bottom line. And at Measure to Improve, we say you must start with a good business case that translates into environmental and social benefits. And sustainability is coming at these. I want to applaud Duda for taking this approach, and they have been a great partner, in embracing sustainability and chipping away at it at a time. When Nichole said, this is just a starting point for them, they're starting with packaging, they're looking on farm, but there's so many other initiatives that are coming their way. Not only packaging and not only on farm, but you've got waste, you've got water, you've got energy. And so how to prioritize and how to start working towards something, how to set those goals. I'm really impressed with Duda's commitment and approach to sustainability at this point.
Well, they're an absolute leader in the industry. The heritage remarks that Nichole shared, it certainly help explain and communicate that. The fact that they're a company that is getting ready to celebrate their 100th year in business, and certainly learning more about their commitment to sustainability and bringing it in as a core principality in their corporate culture. I mean, it's amazing. It's a tremendous commitment. And once again, we see Duda Farm Fresh Foods leading the way. I could not be more proud of you both, and I could not be more proud of the Produce Moms. Great privilege and honor to work with Duda in a brand partnership. So this has been the best episode. I've enjoyed every minute of learning more about this. And for all of our listeners, there's so much more to discover about the Dandy brand and Duda Farm Fresh Foods. You can visit dudafresh.com, which is their website. You're going to find all sorts of amazing recipes, most of which are put together by their James Beard Award-winning chef, Todd Fisher, who is such a wonderful man, great personality. He often appears on Dandy's Instagram pages and other social pages. So make sure you check that out for sure. And while you're there, you're also going to see more facts and insights and footage from the farm. And it's really important. We got to know where our food comes from. We got to know the stories, the voices, and the people behind these brands that we're bringing into our homes. And, to Nicole's point, dining out at restaurants, it's everywhere. This food is everywhere. So, it's truly been a wonderful episode. I can't thank you both so much for the work that you do and for being part of this. And, Nikki, we'll start our closing remarks with you as the sustainability shepherd, and we'll have you share any closing remarks you have. And then Nichole, will flip the mic to you for the last goodbye and closing remarks for the show. But Nikki, please.
I'd just like to close with that. There's a lot of responsibility in the area of sustainability, and that no one company or one sector or one individual can do this alone. This is a supply chain wide initiative, and we all need to take responsibility for our impacts along the way. And I really feel that Duda has made a great initiative in this area, not only with their packaging, but on farm. And so it's a starting point, and I look forward to supporting their efforts now and into the future.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nikki. And couldn't agree with you more. It's definitely a many ships raise the tide concept. No one can do this alone. Nikki is so right with that. Nichole, thank you again for being part of this show. I'd like to welcome you for your closing remarks and the final goodbye for today's broadcast.
Well, thank you, Nikki and Lori. And it's been a pleasure to share our story and certainly work with you guys through this process. And I think it's, just a great testament here that, staying true, Duda Farm Fresh Foods, staying true to our founding principles and really committed to being good stewards of all of our natural resources. So appreciate all the education and the time to being able to communicate what we're doing and look forward to continuing the work, because as you stated, it definitely is a marathon, not a sprint. And we just try to continue on the journey and get better every day. So the company, as we near the 100 years, that's not going to stop. It's going to continue. And it's great to be a part of it. So appreciate the time today, and thanks everyone for listening and learning our story and our journey. And definitely, as Lori said, you can find more information on our website at dudafresh.com. And also we try to do Instagram stories on Fridays called Farming Fridays to show and showcase what we're doing on farm. Not just for sustainability, but just how we grow. And so there's a couple places to learn more, and we appreciate everyone taking the time to let us tell our story.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.